Hi, I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times. It's Thursday, October 23rd, and lots of news on the legal and political front today. First of all, November 20th, that's going to be Judgment Day for same-sex marriage in Arkansas, or at least a very big day toward Judgment Day. The Arkansas Supreme Court today said it would expedite the appeal, and it set oral arguments for November 20th. That is the same day, later in the day, that a federal judge will consider a separate lawsuit that challenges the state's ban on same-sex marriage. I think by the end of 2014, we are going to know whether or not same-sex couples can be legally married in Arkansas or not. Next up, in a somewhat related matter, a judge in Fayetteville today allowed the election to go forward in Fayetteville on a civil rights ordinance that includes employment and other protections for gay people. He did let the ballot measure go forward in a fashion that opponents of the ordinance favored, which is the vote is going to be for repeal or against repeal as opposed to for the ordinance or against the ordinance. And so in my way of thinking, yes means no to civil rights. So it's going to be a little bit confusing. The judge didn't think it would be. Also in court today, the Supreme Court heard arguments on whether or not the minimum wage increase should reach the Arkansas ballot. There have been questions about the petitions, and they also heard arguments on whether or not Saline County voters should be able to vote on a alcohol sales local option election. The opinions seem to be split during the oral arguments. We don't know when we'll get a decision on those cases. Interesting story today. Tom Cotton's campaign man, John Burris, a member of the state legislature, was bragging about how a very fine fellow in Yell County had gotten a $24 million loan from the U.S. Department of Agriculture to expand his broadband service in rural Yell County. The man who runs this phone company happens to be one of Tom Cotton's biggest campaign supporters. Here's the hypocritical, ironic rub. He got $24 million out of a loan program financed by legislation that Tom Cotton opposed, was one of a handful of people who voted against. This is the kind of spending that Tom Cotton wants to cut that demonstrably helps people in rural areas, even in his very own home county. So there you go again, more hypocrisy. Interesting story today on Blue Hog Report. He confirms that the Arkansas Ethics Commission will look at his complaint that Leslie Rutledge violated ethics laws by participating in advertising done by a dark money outside group that advanced her candidacy. They don't have to report who gives them their money or do any of the kind of disclosure that other campaign people do. Clearly this was an ad meant to help her campaign. Clearly she participated in it. If the Ethics Commission says this is okay, that coordination like this is all right in Arkansas elections, we can say goodbye to accountability in campaign finance. The 4th District race for Congress between Republican Bruce Westerman and Democrat James Lee Witt heated up today. James Lee Witt ran what was still a pretty positive, nice guy James Lee Witt ad, but pointed out some of the issues that Bruce Westerman was against that he was for. Bruce Westerman says it's just negative to do these contrast advertising. I thought that's what elections were all about. So Westerman naturally, under the excuse that James Lee Witt had gone negative on him, went negative on James Lee Witt, talking about Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi. Gee, where did he get that script from? The Democratic Party today has issued a news release asking Asa Hutchinson, the Republican candidate for governor, to explain why he paid no business property taxes in Pulaski County for 5 years. He operated a consulting group here. I haven't heard back from the Hutchinson campaign yet. Perhaps he operated a national consulting office here, was solely leased merchandise and didn't owe any property taxes, but he's had property tax problems before, and so it'll be interesting to hear what his answer is. Check our Arkansas blog for a good interview by Benji Hardy with Governor Mike Beebe on the state of Arkansas schools and Little Rock schools, particularly Little Rock schools, some of which may be in danger of state takeover for not meeting academic performances. And let's give the police a pat on the back. They arrested a female bank robber, the second Bonnie and Clyde type Bonnie of the week in Little Rock, minutes after a robbery of a branch out on Cantrell Road, thanks to quick work. And they've closed out a home intrusion homicide on Wright Street with 3 arrests. So thanks to the Little Rock police. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.